How's it going, everybody? It's Klon from Cool Cats, and today I'm going to be walking through how to make a generative project, much like Cool Cats. And so today we're going to be starting from scratch with a blank canvas here. And just to kind of dive into it, and this is personal preference, obviously you can work at any scale you want to, but I like to personally work at a 1080 by 1080 pixel canvas. It just tends to work better for me. I typically draw small and with thick lines, so that's how I like my artboard to be. So now that we have the artboard here, we have to first come up with like what is our base character. And what's important here is much like, and I'll quickly draw it, but like much like Cool Cats, Blue Cat has some defining features that really make Blue Cat stand out. And obviously this is a little wonky. This is actually very wonky. But anyways, you got the head here, you got the little bump. And so like this creates like the silhouette. And these are the things you kind of have to think about. And you got the ears, both here and here, and the shoulders. And so this allows for a lot of opportunities to kind of like add a hat, add like a different face right here, and then add like a shirt. So these are kind of the things you need to think about when creating a character. It can't simply just, I'm giving my perspective on it, so when I give definite answers like that, take it with a grain of salt. But it shouldn't just be about the animal you like. Like, try to make a character of it. At least that's what I think works with Cool Cats. And so let me delete this and start over. I guess, one sec. Okay, let's just do this. Okay, so now we've started over. This is our background layer. So before I even get started, one thing I think is extremely important is adding a guideline of a circle. Because at the end of the day, this is going to get used as a profile picture, at least if that's the route you're going. But for this tutorial, it's going to be a 10K profile picture project, much like Cool Cats. And so I like to set it to 1080 by 1080. So I got my circle here, and then I'm just going to center that on this artboard and get rid of this fill. Because all I need is the circle, because like this is what's going to get cropped down to at the end of the day. So you need it to fit nice and snug in this and maximize the space that you have. So I also like to set this to just the inside, because obviously you're not going to want to go outside of this, or else it's going to get cropped out. But I like to add what's called padding. And it's kind of like your safe zone. Oh, that's a little too big. Wow, the range from here to here just really jumps. Okay, so like I like to add like this much padding, but I want to add just a little bit more. So let's go to 75. So what's really important about making sure it fits into a circle, but more importantly, the padding I just added, is that if you make it so that absolutely nothing passes the inner circle, then it's going to create a nice negative space for when it scales down. It just kind of gives you that breathing room that's going to look really complete by the end. So I always lower the opacity a little bit. I'll change the color. Sometimes I'll just use red because it works well. And so I don't leave this up the entire time, but when I start with designing the character, I like to have this there because it's extremely important. Oh, Link, you showed up a little late. You could have voted for the frogs. We were deciding on what animal to start with, and it was between a turtle, a frog, and a sloth. But the sloth won, so we're gonna do the sloth. And it might not look exactly like a sloth, but it's gonna be my own rendition of it. So designing the character, and obviously you're gonna see me repeat things a lot because I like to, try to do the outline, sketch it as best as I can, and then trace over it. And that's because like this little silhouette that we're creating is very important. It's kind of what defines your whole project, in my opinion. So to get started, let's see. We have a sloth head, and it's going to be kind of squishy. Like that might be a little too wide because it doesn't allow me to. I'll finish this though. Maybe the sloth has like a really long body, kind of like this. And it's just a simple character, simple silhouette. And this is before we've added anything, really. But what this allows us, the reason I don't like what I've just done is there's like not enough room here. Actually, let me use a different color. There's not enough room, and a new layer, here. And there's not enough room like here and here. So you're pretty limited on what you can do. And it's a little too high up. So what I like to do is, now that I have like sort of a base, and we'll work off of this, I think it needs to go down a little bit and shrink a little bit. So it goes like this. Actually, that might be a little too small. Could be like this. And so kind of what's important here is I'm just kind of working with what I already have and viewing it, because you need to remember it's going to be scaled down to like this size. So make sure that your silhouette looks good from a really tiny scale, or else it's really not going to be able to be viewed on Twitter. So that's actually in a good spot. I think that's kind of centered. Another thing I'll do is just simply take another circle and just see where the center is, and it looks like that head kind of fits in here nicely. Maybe go like this, and now it kind of works. We're kind of working with shapes here. So now that that's done, I think I'm pretty happy with the basic shape of it, because that's the amount of room we had before, and we've kind of added this new range. Because if you wanted to add like a really tall hat, now you have room for it. And of course you still have this like padding room just in case, but it's best to not even use that in the first place. So I'm going to trace over this again, and next what I like to do is kind of create your base character, what you think like at the very minimal, like what this character looks like. And so and it maybe even helps to get a picture of a sloth, because I have what I believe looks like a sloth. But all right. And sometimes I'll even look up cartoon versions just to see how they do it. So sloth has, the hair that goes down like this. That's the shape. That's a shape right there, and it's got the long arms. Although I think the arms will be cropped out. So now that we know that, I kind of want to mimic that. So like the sloth has kind of that hair coming down, and it makes this sort of shape. I just kind of want to perfect that shape. I like to add my own little whatever you can add to make it have a little bit more character to it, which is whether it be the hair right there, could be another one of these. And then sloth. So the other thing is with, how you create faces, I like to leave like, let's imagine this could help visualize it, but imagine there's like a box right here. And this is like what I did with Cool Cats. Because at the end of the day, this is a generative project, and so you need to make sure that all of these layers can squeeze together and always work. So if you give yourself some guidelines, like this would be face. And let me bump this smoothing down real quick. So this is face. And then like what's cool is if we do a head shape like this, like it has like a cutoff line right here. So anything below this, we can just have as like the shirt trait. And so that means everything, you know, down here and below, since it's on the most bottom, it's on the lowest layer, it's just gonna get cropped off. So really, like this all down here, maybe I should use a different color. So like this is what would be the shirt trait. And I'm gonna use the same trait names as Cool Cats just for consistency. It just kind of makes more sense in my head. And then last, you know, you got your hat trait. And since the hat will be on the topmost layer, you can't have it like, you don't want it to crop over the face. So I like to give myself the range that it can't go in this box. But that still allows you to use like this whole area. And the hat one is my favorite trait because you can just really explore like where you can go with it. You just have a lot of room to explore. And so if you're breaking this down, you know, you got your hat on top. This is layer 1. Layer 2 is the face. Layer 3 is the shirt. And then on the very bottom is the silhouette, which is the 4th one. And so on your layers over here, that's how it's all gonna come together. So I hope that all makes sense. Okay, you can't see Klon giving, Hodl HQ, thank you so much for all the gifted subs. I do have to shout that one out because that's a lot of subs. And you just welcomed a bunch more people to the squad. So thank you. But back to the layering system. So how I like to do it is then set up my layers to correspond with this. And I like to color code because I think colors really help. So hat layer, and we'll make that red. We're gonna have and this could be blue. This will be the face. And then we'll have shirt. Make this green. And then do body. And let's make this one gray. Okay, so now that we have all those, let me combine these layers and just hide them. So that's kind of how I've structured my files over here, and I think it's very important to have your layering system correct and organized. So much like this, hat right here, face right here, shirt down here, and then body, which is the silhouette. So let's finish this silhouette real quick and add it to body. And I hope this tutorial is making sense so far, because I haven't been reading chat much. I've been kind of trying to stay focused so I don't get sidetracked. We all know I get derailed on these Twitch streams. So I go crazy with tracing. I'll trace things a million times, but I kind of like this head shape because it kind of can fit right on top of of the body down here. But since we kind of have that figured out, let's make this sloth have some shoulders. Let me try that again. Some arms. Cool. And then I will like to keep them on separate layers, the head and the body. Because I might actually experiment with something that I didn't do with Cool Cats, but can with this sloth. I want this really to be round right here. Almost. Like that. Okay. I like to have some element on the top. Like this is kind of similar to like Blue Cat's ears, you know? I like to have something up here. And so I'm gonna add these little like, it's kind of supposed to be like hair tuft, like just kind of like a cowlick. I think that's what it is. Okay, so we got that. This is kind of the base for the sloth, and it all fits in there well. Although, funny enough, you know, I tried to trace it. Sometimes the first time you do it, it's just better. So I really liked how I did it before. Some just subtle differences. So I'm gonna do some cleanup here. Delete things I don't need anymore. And so now that, again, just looking back, hat, face, shirt. And I think it's best if we create one of each to start with. And so I'm gonna be literal to start with, and I'm gonna make a hat. But actually, I take that back. Let's fill in the color of this body. And let's start with like a brown or something. I might have to find like a color palette to use, because I'm not the best with neutral tones. And we don't need this while we're coloring in. So what's nice about this is because it's, you know, we have this cutoff from like the lower part of the sloth. We could even make different like head traits. You know, that could be another attribute. Right now I'm keeping it simple, much like Cool Cats, but we can go way over 4 just attributes. I just really love simplicity. Okay, so I'm gonna keep these on separate layers, but let's color in both brown to start with. What I might do with this is, you know how sloths have like the inner part of their face is like a different color? I think I'm gonna do that as well. Coloring's my favorite part. And so I'm not sure if I want to kind of bake in the face part of the sloth or leave it as a face trait. So like it could always be different. I think what's really important about a generative project, and I could be very biased here, but I think the face trait is the hands down the most important trait that you can add. And so like what I'm wondering here is, if I do this and add like, you know, the inner face of a sloth, would it make sense to leave this consistent or to like leave it as a face trait? Because, and here's why I ask, and this is kind of just comes back to 100% face trait. I agree, Link. I think so too, because like you might want to change this. What if I want this sloth to be like angry? Well, it helps if I can do like that and kind of give it like angry eyebrows to go with it. And here, just to quickly show you what I mean, like it kind of fits with that now. And there's a lot of fun things we could do with that. So I agree. I think it might make more sense to leave this as a face trait. And maybe I want to outline it. I think I do want to outline it just to kind of, boom, there it is. Salty Sloths. That's the NFT project. Looking at this one. Okay, so let's go back. I really like this circle. Regardless, I'm going to start with something. It does look like a Sasquatch. I think you're right. But that's okay. It's a character. It doesn't like Blue Cat isn't, doesn't quite look exactly like a cat. So we're open to interpretation here. But I think this circle's looking good. I'm gonna try not to critique myself too much for the sake of the tutorial. So, but let's say this is a face trait. So let's add that into the face folder. And I think the body one is now done. So let's lock this. Although actually unlock it, because typically what I like to do is lower the opacity when I'm drawing on top so that it doesn't get in the way. So let's make like our base face right here. And we'll just do a classic cool cat kind of face, but sloth. A lot of these attributes are going to be similar to cool cats, just because that's how it goes. So and remember, you can always draw something and rotate it, scale it. You can do anything with it. So never feel like you're stuck. So let's do that. Cool. So there's our face. Super simple. Although I do think I want to add an outline around this. There we go. All right, so we added a little outline around it, and you don't have to work in Photoshop. I forget I hadn't covered this yet, but because a lot of this, what I'm doing is just talking about the layering system, and you can do this in Procreate as well. But typically, what I like to go crazy with layers, and I want this on a separate layer. I want the actual face on a separate layer, and I want the eyes on the separate layer. And the reason is because I like to move things around. Like, you can get totally different faces by just, now he's looking up. Now he's looking a little more down, or like to the left, to the right. So, but I kind of want to get it right in the middle. I think it could be rotated a little bit more so that these line up, the tops of both of those. And we'll secure that. Now that we have a face on there, I'm gonna go back to the body. I think this looks great. Add some tongue color right here. And then once again, I like to scale it down to look at it at this, that's maybe too small for y'all, but like, how does this look in a circle? And the great thing about Photoshop is I can make this, I can clip this, but here, one sec, sorry. Put all of that sloth. Okay, so now all of the sloth stuff is in one folder, and we can add a mask. So this is another way I like to do it. I like to actually crop it to see how it looks. And so that's how it is at a small scale. And now that I'm looking at it, maybe it is a little too low. Maybe this is way too much room on the top of the head, because we've got all this space right here. So I'm gonna take everything. Let's get rid of that. I'm gonna take everything and just kind of, I don't know what just happened there. And just bump it up a little bit. I think like just that much makes a huge difference. And so I'll go back to the body trait, just fill in these gaps real quick. let's redo this a little bit. What happened here? Okay, and then we'll just fill in the gaps real quick. Another thing I'm realizing, like, we made this sloth a little, well, I made this sloth, I shouldn't blame this on y'all. You know, right now it's just like a brown color. It's like, maybe it should be a different color. Who knows? So, but for now, I'm gonna leave it so I don't over critique myself. I really, really like how this is looking. This would be essentially the logo of the project in my eyes, because we have like the base right here. But do we want to add a, like for instance, now I'm looking at this, maybe like a belly, like that. And obviously, oh, I did that on the wrong layer. Because we could add, it just helps to add some character to it, to really just make it not just a sloth, but a sloth in your style. And so now that we have that, let's see what this looks like. I think I used this color. And that way, you know, if we had a little belly here, you would see it under the clothes if you like had like an open shirt or something. Now it's looking a little more Sasquatchy, actually, which I think I'm okay with. I think I want that right there. But this could also be a shirt attribute, you know? Like maybe I shouldn't limit myself to it being baked on the base body. Like I think having a very blank underlayer could be really, can lend itself useful. So yeah, maybe it is still a sloth, but you could get the shirt attribute that makes it Sass, for Sasquatch. And so now we're starting to build our layering system, which is really fun. And real quick, let's add like a hat, you know? And I think I want him to be wearing, and actually, I know I added these little tufts, but maybe that is a hat within itself, is this right here. And I think I'm gonna say, yeah, let's make this a trait instead of baked on there. So I like to crop it out. Control-Shift-J to put it on a new layer. Put that up here, and so let's hide that for a second and do some cleanup. And the reason I want to do this is it just allows more room on top of the head to do more fun things, instead of like having to constantly work around those two little bumps on his head. So let me just restart this real quick and fill in the gap. Okay, let me get rid of that. Okay, there we go. I think I gotta start this over. And sometimes I like to just bump up that smoothing so I can get a nice clean line here. Boom. Okay. So that looks great. Let's see if the color fills in. Perfect. I'm just gonna color in the edge right there to make sure it is actually filled in. Okay, cool. So let's add that back on. And this is where in my eyes, this is where the layering system gets a lot of fun. Is that you can really just like fake things in a way. So, and I maybe that's not the right word, but like to fill this in, like we can do this and go like that, and then you can see there's a little bit of clipping right there on the edge. So I like to just fill that in Oh, wrong brush size. Fill that in here. And fill that in here. Cool. And so now, smoothing set to 100% is the way I feel that. And so let's name this layer like Tuft. So if we look at our layers now, we have this face, and let's just call that happy. Let me delete this, let me delete this. So for clarity here, make that green. And then I don't need to add that into a, so basically going back to this, like I was saying, you know, you got your hat layer, which is this, like that's your hat layer. And then you got your face layer, which is this. And then you got your stomach one, like this. And just for the sake of this tutorial, let's export these. Let me show you what it looks like to put this all into a layering system as files. And so really what you're doing is exporting these all individually. And let me get a folder ready, but so first things first, hide everything. And right now we just want to export the body. And what's very important here is to make sure your white layer, which is behind here, is not on. And usually you'd see that checkerboard background, but I don't have it set that way. I don't know if it's this button. No, it's not. So exporting the body first, and I like to go to File, Export. If you're trying to be quick, export as PNG. If you want it as very clean as possible, save for web and do it that way. Let's just do export as PNG. And so let me make sure I get a nice folder going. Let's see, I'll call it CC tutorial. And what I like to do here is add some folders. And so we're essentially just creating what we just did with the layering system. And I like to start with numbers, because numbers, if you're going from alphabetical, it's just the easiest way to do it. So I go 01 hat, make another folder, 02 face, 03 shirt, and then last 04 body. And so since we are exporting the body, which is just this blank body here, you go open, and I'll make another folder. Or if you don't even want to make a folder, you could just go well, this is just body, so there's only ever going to be one, so let's just name it body. You're free to name it whatever you want. This is just how I choose to do it. So now that we have the body exported, let's do the shirt, which is the Sasquatch body. And so same thing, I have it hotkeyed. I personally did this so that I don't have to go up. Okay, well, maybe the hotkeys not working. That's awkward. So quick export as PNG. Actually, let me show you how to change a hotkey in Photoshop. So I like to go to keyboard shortcuts right here. My window came down. File, and you go down. Quick export as PNG. You're free to make this whatever you want. I have mine as Control-Shift-Q, and accept that. And so now that's secured as a hotkey, because I'm all about my hotkeys. So Control-Shift-Q opens up this. Oh, not stream recording. That's what we're doing here. CC tutorial, and let's go to shirt, and let's name this Sass. Next we do the face. It does look like, someone said earlier, this looks like a Finn face. It totally looks like a Finn face. That's funny. Face, let's name it happy. Finn. Okay, so Q. And as you can see, like sometimes it can look a little messy, and it's up to you if you want to care about that or not. There are some cool cat traits that I might have left a little messy, but for this tutorial, let's see, the only space that we need is right here. So I'll just go in and just clean it up real quick. Make sure that's, because you never know where you're going to use these next. So sometimes it's nice to, clean up some layers like that. And then I like to add the color back, make sure that actually worked, that there's no clipping there. Okay, great. And then let's export the final layer. Hat, make it tuft. Okay, and so if you want to stop watching, let's say you're on YouTube watching this and you want to stop right here, that's essentially what it takes to make a layering system. And then next, you're going to need a developer, but that's a whole nother story right there. Desktop, tutorial. Okay, so let me make this clear. You got the hat layer, like I said, and in here, you got the PNG. You got the face trait, you got the PNG, shirt, you got the PNG, and so body, you got the PNG. And so the best way to put this, I mean, I could show you how to, put these all in, but essentially what I did from the dev standpoint, or passing this off to a developer, is I zipped up this folder, told them the layering system and how I liked to do it, and they worked some magic on the code side. But that's how to tell you to do it in the most simple way possible. But it's not always that simple. And so essentially, when it comes time for rarities, that's up to you to decide. And for Cool Cats, we did it in a really interesting way, where let me just quickly jot down here. It was like, oh, these traits, like this one isn't as rare as the other one, and we put this in a 4-point scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I also classified it as bronze, silver, gold, and diamond. And this is really just for our end of development. And so I'm like, this one looks pretty basic, so I think it should just be a 1-point trait. Okay? And then let's say this face was really rare, and you're like, oh, let's make it 3 points, And then lastly, you got the Sasquatch thing, and oh, you got the Sasquatch one? Oh, that must be really rare. And so if we're going off of those points, it was a 1, 3, and 4. And how we did it with Cool Cats is, regardless, you start with 3 points, because there's 3 layers. They all have to be at most 1 point. And we don't include the body trait, the one that's on the bottom, because everyone gets that. But if we were to add these up, this would be an 8-point sloth. And then because it was an 8-point sloth, we tied it to a background color. And in this case, it would be the red background. So that's kind of how we did the rarities. That is a much longer description. But overall, this is kind of quickly how you do the tutorial. And kind of how you get set up as an artist.